Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your home chef, Brendan. Today we got the first recipe, first dish that I'm gonna make for you guys. We're gonna call this Dad's Let's Cook Something because Dad's That Cook was taken, so I'm gonna change up the name. But all pictures and everything will be posted on dadlife4106 on our Instagram, and then I will probably upload these videos on YouTube. So if you're tuning in, thanks for the support. For those that have already been excited for this and have kind of pushed me to do this, I appreciate it. Today, I'm going to make something that I make fairly often, I would say. This is going to be a play on like a Szechuan beef, but as opposed to doing like shards of like a ribeye or just like thicker cuts of meat, like strips of meat, we're just going to go with ground beef. Ground beef cooks pretty quick, and I can kind of imitate kind of that same taste profile and just that goodness that you would get from like a Szechuan beef dish. And I think most kids kind of growing up in the 90s like myself, I think Panda Express was something that most of us probably went to. And while they have that awesome orange chicken that seems to be very consistent, they have that Szechuan beef there. And that's kind of where this inspiration came in. So it won't necessarily be like a stir fry because they have onions, peppers that are thrown in there. And so this is just going to be just kind of my take on the sauce. So I will post the ingredients and recipe and all that stuff. But this is the homemade sauce here. I made this yesterday, so it's had some time to sit. And yeah, so what we're going to do first is we're going to tackle the beef. And then I will kind of break down that process for you. All right, so right now I'm just going to be just cooking off the beef. So I'm not going to try to do anything super spectacular with this. I just want to cook it not all the way through because I don't want it to be overcooked. But I'm definitely going to brown it off a little bit and just get it kind of sauteed here in the pan. So a lot of the flavor, it's going to come from the sauce. But once I get to a point where I feel comfortable with where the beef is, I'm just going to season it. And kind of the primary seasoning besides salt and pepper is going to be this. Some Chinese 5-spice. It's a variety of different ingredients that are combined into this awesome powder, but it kind of provides a little bit of sweetness. You get some ginger flavors, a little bit of just some interesting spices, and yeah, it's just really, really good, and it really gives the beef some nice character. So once I get this cooked off, I'm going to season just with salt and pepper, just kind of to my liking. You can kind of do it however you want, but I'm going to give this probably a good little douse of Chinese 5-spice, so I'm going to cover this area. I would say it's probably going to be about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. I wouldn't go too heavy on it, just because, once again, the sauce, you really want to let it shine. Alright, so this is going to be the consistency of how I want the beef. Like I said, I don't want it to be overcooked. I'm going to break this up a little bit just so some of that pink can kind of go away. But I've already added my seasonings, and it's very aromatic already, which is nice. And really the only thing that I'm going to add to this will be some sliced Fresno peppers, just to give it a little bit of kick. And then I'm going to chop up some green onions as well. But before that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this. Now, some people might have different comments about that. The reason why I drain it is just because I don't want it to be an overly soupy kind of mess. Like, I want the beef to kind of have its own character. So I don't want all that moisture to ruin the dish. Sorry, it's steaming a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this drain a little bit. And then I'm going to put it back onto my lovely pan here. And then we're going to get the sauce going. Alright, now we're back. The meat is drained. I've added some green onions and some Fresno peppers. I kept the pan on, of course, so that way it keeps cooking. And then I'm just going to add in this lovely sauce. And this is going to be the reason why we're all here, is to get this goodness. So I'm going to get this a good mix here, and then I will come back and show you what it looks like. And one thing that I'm going to add to this dish that I normally don't do is I'm going to do a nice little crispy egg here. So this pan is at a pretty good temperature, but it's not overly hot. But this has been cooking for about a minute or so. So you can see these crispy edges here. If you want to cook the yolk off, just give it a nice little baste of this oil that I have in here. So I have a little bit more oil in here than what I normally would, but that's because I want to get some texture on the egg. Alright, so that's the finished product for the beef. I just finished this in not even 10 minutes, so it's going to have some nice heat to it. There's definitely some sweetness. You're going to get some freshness from the green onions. There's a lot of ginger notes in here. The sesame seeds add a nice little crunch. There's some garlic shards in here that were in the sauce. Once again, I will post the recipe. But yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. I don't want to overcook it once again, so yeah, so that's kind of just where my wife and I like it. The last thing that I'm going to cook here is the edamame. So we normally eat this dish with broccoli. I think broccoli is, if anything, it's more filling. So especially for those that have kids out there, you know, I'm all about trying to make meals that are quick but that are filling, because, you know, your time's going to be on your loved one and you don't have as much time to make such a big dish. So I'm going to use the same pan that this egg was in, since it's nice and hot and it's less mess that I'm going to make. And I'm just going to brown this off. You can brown it off to your liking. And before I put it onto my plate, I'm just going to season it a little bit with salt and pepper. And I'm just going to keep it simple, so that way it doesn't take away from the beef and from everything else. And to kind of add just some more healthy fats into this dish, I'm just going to dice up some avocado. This is optional. You don't necessarily have to do this. And the other thing that I'm going to add to this dish is this stuff right here. Momofuku Chili Crunch. If you guys follow celebrity chefs, that's going to be from Chef David Chang. Does a lot of Korean dishes, but this chili oil is awesome. It's not difficult to make chili oil. I haven't perfected my recipe just yet, but if you're just trying to buy chili oil, this is absolutely fantastic. It goes so well on a lot of different things. Now, in terms of the rice, so I'm going to post a video on just how I make my rice, and my hands are clean. So I like the rice like this. How it's still a little sticky, but I can really pick out these individual grains of rice. Because there's nothing worse than gloopy, clumpy, wet, sticky, disgusting rice. It irritates me that people don't take the time to do it right. But I've had this cooking for a while now. I actually started this rice earlier today. So whenever you're prepping things like this that you can keep warm, you don't need a rice cooker to make good rice, but this has been just an amazing purchase. This is Yum Asia. I believe this holds 6 cups of rice total. And this rice cooker is awesome. It keeps it warm. It cooks really well. It's very non-stick. But if you don't have that, there's obviously ways to cook rice in a pot and keep it old school, and you can still get very good results. But especially when you have little kids running around, if you can just set it and forget it kind of deal, like a crock pot, this has just been an amazing little sous chef that I have here in my kitchen. And that's the final product there. So that really only took maybe 10 minutes. And as you can see, I got the rice on the bottom. I just kind of offset the beef to the side. You can see all the little ingredients that are in there. It's going to have a nice kick to it. Real savory, sweet, a little spicy. I just kind of roughly put in some avocado in there. Edamame is off to the side, just lightly seasoned. If I had to do it over again, I would do broccoli. But like I said, I forgot. And I just got this crispy egg on top that is just doused in that Momofuku chili oil. That it's absolutely fantastic. So Hope you guys learned a little bit. Have some fun in the kitchen. You can make really, really good meals that can kind of imitate some of your favorite takeout. And this is just kind of where my inspiration came from, as I mentioned before, with the Panda Express Szechuan beef. So I think it's pretty good. My wife likes it, and yeah, if you have any questions about this, let me know. So here's the finished product. Yeah, make this a little bit easier. Oh yeah. Let's give it a taste. How can that be bad? Yeah. For something that you can make in like 10 minutes, this is pretty awesome. I've never made it with a crispy egg before. That's a game changer for sure. It definitely has a little bit of heat to it, so if you're not a big spicy food person, the chili flakes, the Fresno pepper, it's very optional. If you want it a little bit sweeter, more savory, and you don't want all that kick, you don't necessarily have to put it in, but I like spicy food to a degree. I'm not crazy with spicy food, like to the point where I'm gonna die. I don't like that, but I don't mind sweating a little bit. Yeah, that 5-spice, the mix of sauces and marinades that I put together in this, the garlic, the ginger, the sesame seeds, the Szechuan peppercorns adds a lot of, adds a lot of smokiness to it. Edamame just kind of adds a little bit of a fresh element to it. The avocado, I think, kind of adds like a little bit of a cooling effect. Kind of coats the tongue a little bit, kind of resets so you can eat more. But yeah, I mean, super simple, but very delicious. And I didn't spend a ton of money on that. You know, green onions, I have some extra green onions here. If you like green onions and you kind of want to add a little bit of freshness to it, you can add it in raw towards the end. I cooked green onions with the beef, as you guys saw. But if you don't want to do that and you want to just keep it raw so you can taste it a little bit more, you could do that too. Your vegetables of choice, you could do broccoli, you could do mustard greens, you can do broccoli rabe, you could do more stir fry, like if you want to do onions and like red peppers, or you know, your different colored bell peppers, you could do that too. It's really up to you. Edamame is just what I had. It wasn't my first choice, but it still works well, you know, and it's still in that Asian cuisine family. But yeah, it's just a complete dish, you know. It's something that everybody can cook. The only thing that I prepared ahead of time was I made the rice, as I showed in the previous clip with my rice cooker. I use that a lot, and I really use that to my advantage just to save me time, because trying to do things while your kid is awake sometimes is really difficult. So if I can save my time or save myself some energy, and if I can just focus on getting the main components cooked, the rice cooker and the rice cooker keeping my rice warm is super helpful. The sauce I made last night. So I would say that if you're going to plan on making sauces, salsas, anything that's going to be a condiment for your dish, I think it's really important that you give it time to develop flavor. So this sauce has had, I don't know, maybe about 14 hours to marinate. I mean, it's not something that needs to develop over time, and I didn't make a lot of it because I just kind of wanted it to saturate a pound of meat. But if you're going to cook this and have way more leftovers, the recipe that I'm going to provide, you can essentially even double that or get close to doubling it. But once again, if you're not a big spicy food person, and if you don't want it to have so much kick, just look at the elements in the recipes, and if you need to dial it back or not use any of that at all, that's going to be your prerogative. But if you want to have some heat to it, keep all that in there. But if you're going to double the recipe, just don't go too crazy with the spices. And the beef, before I cooked it, I let it sit out for a little bit to get to room temp, so just so it wouldn't lose the juiciness and so it wouldn't dry out too fast, because if you cook meat when it's cold, it's just not going to cook right. So I let it come up to room temp for a while. I kept it in the package, but I just left it on my counter, and when I was ready to cook, I just turned on my pan, I let it heat up, and I really wanted that initial sizzle when I put it on there, so that way it would cook faster. And the green onions, the Fresno peppers, really easy to chop. The edamame, it was frozen edamame, because we had bought this for my baby since she's been trying different foods. And I had some left over. I took her edamame away because I forgot vegetables for this dish. But like I said, it still works. It still works perfectly fine. But yeah, there isn't much to this. And I'm going to continue to hopefully create recipes where I can make things relatively quick, and where you guys can have an idea of how to plan it around your day, your baby's schedule, especially with naps and things like that. You know, and if you can tackle certain things before you actually start cooking, you'll just be better prepared. And everybody's stove is different, everybody's equipment is different, everybody's space is different. So I got a decent amount of space in my kitchen, but if I don't plan ahead, I'm not going to be very effective. So yeah, so kind of just think piece by piece how you want to prepare this. If you want to chop your vegetables during one nap when your kid is asleep, you could do that. If you want to get your rice cooker done like in the afternoon, or if you want to prep that in the afternoon, your rice, whether it's with the rice cooker or whether you're doing it in a pot, you could do that ahead of time. And if you have to reheat your rice, just put a little damp paper towel over the rice when you microwave it. It'll still be pretty fresh, and it won't be all dried out and all crunchy and stuff. You know, but this dish, purposely, the ingredients that I've picked and for the way how I cooked it, it was very much less than 10 minutes. The sauce and everything that I made was super quick. So hopefully you guys will like this dish. This is one of our household favorites. I kind of just made this on the spot one day, and just over time I've really tried to develop the flavors and trying to be on par with what my wife likes, what I like. And today, you know, because it's, you know, special day, it's our first video, added a little bit of flair to it just with the chili oil, the egg, the avocado. You don't need that. Even just rice and the beef is fine. But I think if you're able to add some different components to it and give it some freshness and some crunch and some different elements that are going to be good for your, that are just going to help just sensory and really get you to eat more. I'm all about that stuff. If I can have different stuff on my plate that's going to make my eating experience fun, I'm going to. But if you're crunched for time, like I said, the beef and the rice is going to give you, I think, a big boost. Even if you just threw in some green onions in there, I think that would really lift it. Everything else is just a filler. Highly recommended, but it's optional. So hope you guys like this. I'm going to get back to eating this. And follow us on Dad Life 4106 for our Dad Life podcast. We're going to be continuing to make content with just our day-to-day lifestyle, what it's been like for us to be a dad, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be diving into some really good topics, and this week coming up, I want to make another cooking video. I think I'm going to make a play on like a Mediterranean burger. That will be a lot of fun. So I got to start prepping for that, because there's some condiments and things like that that are going to be utilized on that. So stay tuned. I hope you liked this video. Like, subscribe, recommend, follow, all that stuff. Get our name out there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.